They smiled at me while plotting behind my back. It ends tonight. Subscribe and don't miss a second of the revenge. The crystal chandelier above the dining table caught the afternoon light in a way that made my eyes hurt. Or maybe that was just the tension pressing against my skull like a vice. The smell of my mother's signature roast, rosemary and garlic, always rosemary and garlic, filled the room, but it turned my stomach instead of making me hungry. I could hear the clink of wine glasses, the scrape of silver against fine china, the low murmur of relatives I barely knew, but who somehow knew everything about my life. I shouldn't have come. The text had arrived 3 days ago. Just 6 words from my father. Send us $50,000 immediately. Urgent. No explanation. No follow-up. When I called, he didn't answer. When I texted back asking why, my mother responded with a single sentence. Family obligation. Don't make us ask twice. $50,000. My entire savings. The buffer between me and complete dependence. The money I'd scraped together, working 2 jobs through college while my sister got a new Mercedes for her birthday. The emergency fund I'd built in secret, account by account, transfer by transfer, hoping one day I'd be free. And they wanted it, just like that. So I came instead. Drove 4 hours with my boyfriend, Marcus, silent in the passenger seat, his hand occasionally finding mine when my knuckles went white on the steering wheel. I came unannounced, walking through the front door of the estate I grew up in, but never felt at home in, and found this, a family gathering I hadn't been invited to. Sweetie, you're here. My mother's voice floated across the room, honeyed and hollow. She didn't get up from her seat at the head of the table, didn't even look surprised. She just dabbed the corner of her mouth with a linen napkin and smiled that smile, the one that never reached her eyes. We weren't expecting you. Clearly. I stood in the doorway, Marcus a warm presence behind me. I got your text. About the money. The room went quiet. 12 faces turned toward me. My father set down his wine glass slowly. My sister, Victoria, leaned back in her chair, one perfectly manicured hand playing with her pearl necklace, the real ones, not the costume jewelry she claimed I'd stolen when I was 16. The aunts and uncles and cousins watched with the eager anticipation of people about to witness something entertaining. This isn't the time, Natalie. My father's voice carried the weight of old authority, the kind that used to make me shrink. We're celebrating your sister's engagement. Of course they were. Victoria was engaged. Again. This would be the 3rd time. But this time, the ring looked like it cost more than a small car. Congratulations, I said, and I even meant it. I had nothing against Victoria except that she was everything I wasn't, blonde where I was brunette, confident where I was quiet, cruel where I tried to be kind. But you asked me for $50,000 without explaining why. I think I deserve to know. Deserve. My mother repeated the word like it tasted bad. Since when do you deserve anything you haven't earned, darling? The familiar shame tried to rise in my throat, but Marcus's hand found the small of my back. Steady. Grounding. I work 60 hours a week. I said quietly. I've been financially independent since I was 22. That money is mine. Is it? Victoria leaned forward, her engagement ring catching the light. Because I seem to remember Mom and Dad paying for your college. Room and board. That fancy laptop you needed. The car you crashed sophomore year. I paid them back. Every cent. With interest. Oh, this again. Victoria rolled her eyes. You're so obsessed with keeping score, Natalie. It's exhausting. My Aunt Margot, mother's sister, just as polished and twice as judgmental, chimed in. It's true, dear. You've always been so sensitive about money. It's rather gauche, if we're being honest. Gauche. I'd been called that before, along with difficult, Ungrateful, dramatic, too emotional, too cold, too much, not enough. I just want to know why, I said. That's all. Why do you need my savings? What's the emergency? My father sighed, the kind of sigh that said I was being unreasonable. He was good at those. 58 years old, silver hair, tailored suit even on a Sunday, the kind of man who commanded rooms and board meetings and families with equal ease. The summer house, he said finally. We're renovating. The contractors need a deposit, and our funds are currently tied up in investments. It's temporary. We'll pay you back with interest in 6 months. The summer house, the place in the Hamptons where I'd spent every childhood vacation feeling like a guest, where Victoria had pool parties, and I was told to keep quiet because I made the other children uncomfortable, where I'd hidden in the library and pretended I was anywhere else. You want my entire savings for a renovation? The words came out flat, disbelieving. It's not just a renovation, Victoria cut in. It's a complete overhaul. We're adding a new wing, updating the kitchen, putting in a pool house. It's going to be stunning. And it's a family property, Natalie. This benefits you too. I haven't been invited there in 3 years. Because you never come when we ask, my mother said smoothly. You're always so busy with your little jobs, and that, her gaze flicked past me to Marcus. Your friend. Friend. Not boyfriend. Not partner. Just friend. Because acknowledging him meant acknowledging I had something of my own, something they couldn't control or critique or claim credit for. Marcus didn't flinch. He was good at that. At being steady when everything around him was sharp edges and barely veiled hostility. This is Marcus, I said louder than I intended. My boyfriend. We've been together for 2 years. How nice. My mother's smile could have cut glass. And what do you do, Marcus? Here it comes. The interrogation. The subtle digs. The way they'd measure his worth in dollars and pedigree and connections. I'm a mechanic, Marcus said evenly. I own a shop downtown. The silence that followed was deafening. I could practically hear the calculations, the judgments, the dismissal. A mechanic. Blue collar. Working class. Not one of us. How humble, Aunt Margot said, and the word dripped with condescension. Someone has to fix your cars when they break down, Marcus replied with a slight smile. No edge to his voice. Just fact. It made me love him more. Victoria snorted. Is that where you two met? Did he fix your car? Library, I said. He was reading Steinbeck. The mechanic reads, My Uncle James, father's brother, venture capitalist, 3 ex-wives, said with mock surprise. Will wonders never cease? I felt Marcus tense beside me. Felt my own anger rising, hot and sharp. Can we get back to the money? I tried to keep my voice steady. If it's just a deposit, why don't you take out a loan? Use the house as collateral. Why do you need my savings specifically? My father's jaw tightened. There it was, the crack in the facade. The tell that something wasn't right. Because we're asking you to, he said. Because we're family. Because after everything we've done for you, this is a small thing to do in return. Everything they'd done for me. The refrain of my childhood. The weight of unpayable debt. You want to know what I think? Victoria stood up, her chair scraping against the hardwood. She was wearing white, of course she was. Everything about her was pristine, perfect, calculated. I think you're being selfish, hoarding money, while the rest of us are trying to build something beautiful for the family. Dad asked you for help, and you show up here with she looked at Marcus like he was something unpleasant stuck to her shoe. Your project boyfriend, making demands and causing a scene. I'm causing a scene? I could hear my voice rising and hated myself for it. For letting them get to me. Again. You're the one who what? Victoria stepped closer. Who has a real relationship? Who's actually marrying someone from a good family? Who isn't slumming it with someone who smells like motor oil? Marcus's hand on my back pressed a little firmer, keeping me grounded, keeping me from saying something I'd regret. That's enough, Victoria, I said quietly. No, I don't think it is. She was on a roll now, performing for the audience. You've always been like this, Natalie. Always playing the victim. Always acting like we're the villains in your sad little story. Mom and Dad have given you everything, and you can't even do this one thing for the family without making it into a huge drama. Given me everything? The words burst out before I could stop them. You got a new car every year. I drove a 15-year-old Honda that broke down twice a month. You had a credit card with no limit. I had a $50 weekly allowance. You got to study abroad 3 times. I worked 2 jobs to pay for 1 semester in London because they said it wasn't in the budget. Because you didn't earn it. Victoria's voice was shrill now. I got good grades. I was involved in the right activities. I made them proud. You just existed. Quietly, boringly, taking up space. The words hit like physical blows, each one finding the soft places I'd tried to armor over the years. Taking up space. That's what I'd always been to them. An inconvenience. A disappointment. The daughter who didn't shine bright enough, didn't want the right things, didn't fit the mold they'd prepared. I think we should go, Marcus said softly. His voice meant only for me. But my mother stood up, smoothing her designer dress. Not until we settle this matter. Natalie, your father asked you for a simple favor. $50,000 is nothing in the grand scheme of things. You'll barely miss it. It's my entire savings. Then save more. She said it so simply, as if money appeared out of thin air for everyone, as if struggle was just a choice you made. We need the funds by Friday. Wire transfer is fine. And if I say no? The room went cold. Even the light from the chandelier seemed to dim. Then I suppose, my father said slowly, we'll know where we stand. As a family. There it was. The ultimatum wrapped in velvet. The threat made elegant through implication. Give us your money or lose us. As if I'd ever had them to lose. I need to think about it, I said. Think fast, Victoria shot back. And while you're thinking, maybe consider that Trevor, she gestured to her fiancé. A man I'd barely registered in the corner, quiet and wealthy and forgettable. Trevor comes from old money. Real money. His family owns half the properties on the North Shore. They're renovating their summer estate too. Maybe they'd be willing to help us out if you won't. The implication was clear. They'd cut me out. Replace me with Victoria's new, better, richer family. Maybe I should have felt threatened. Instead, I felt something like relief. I'll give you my answer by Friday, I said. I turned to leave, Marcus moving with me, when my cousin Bethany, young, ambitious, chronically online, called out, "Wait, is this the guy? From your Instagram." I froze. Oh my God, it is. Bethany was already pulling out her phone. Victoria showed us. The mechanic boyfriend. You guys look so cute in those pictures. Very authentic. There was poison in that word. Authentic. Code for poor. For trying too hard. For not belonging. Put your phone away, Bethany, I said. But she was already typing. I'm just tagging you. My followers will love this. Hashtag family drama. Hashtag reality check. Hashtag class difference. Stop. Marcus's voice cut through the air, sharp and commanding in a way I'd never heard before. Put the phone down. Now. Bethany looked up, startled. Everyone did. There was something in Marcus's tone, something that suggested he was used to being obeyed. She lowered the phone slowly. Thank you, Marcus said, his voice soft again. Natalie, let's go. We left through the front door, and I didn't look back. Couldn't look back. If I did, I'd see them all watching, judging, already crafting the narrative of how difficult I'd been, how ungrateful, how I'd embarrassed them by bringing my mechanic boyfriend to a family gathering. In the car, I started shaking, just trembling like a leaf in a storm, my hands useless, my breath coming too fast. Marcus drove, didn't say anything, just drove, one hand on the wheel, the other reaching for mine. We ended up at his apartment, a modest place above the shop, small but clean, smelling like coffee and old books. He guided me to the couch, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, made tea I didn't drink. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm sorry you had to see that. I'm sorry they treated you like, hey." He knelt in front of me, his hands on my knees. "You have nothing to apologize for. Nothing." They wanted my money. The reality of it was sinking in, cold and nauseating. Not me, just my money. And they didn't even have the decency to pretend otherwise. I know. And Victoria's going to post about it. About us. She's going to make me look pathetic. Make you look like some kind of gold digger, even though you've never asked me for anything. Not once, not ever. Marcus's jaw tightened. Let her. You don't understand. My family has reach. Connections. They can, Natalie. His hands cupped my face, forcing me to look at him. "I need to tell you something." The way he said it made my heart stop. "What?" He stood up, running a hand through his dark hair. Pacing. I'd never seen him pace before. "I haven't been completely honest with you," he said finally, "about who I am." The bottom dropped out of my stomach. Here it comes, I thought. The betrayal. The reveal that he was like everyone else. Using me. Lying to me. "I do own a mechanic shop," he continued. "That's true. I work there most days. But it's not because I need to. It's because I want to." I stared at him. "My last name is Chun," he said. "Marcus Chun. Does that mean anything to you?" It didn't. Should it? "Chun Industries," he said quietly. "My grandfather founded it. Manufacturing, tech components, international shipping. My father runs it now. My brother's next in line. I'm the spare. The one who was supposed to take over the East Coast operations." The world tilted. "You're rich," I said flatly. "Wealthy," he corrected, like there was a difference. "My trust fund has more zeros than I like to think about. The apartment above the shop, I own the building, and the one next to it, and the whole block, actually." I couldn't breathe. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because every time I've ever told anyone, they changed." His voice was raw now. "They started seeing dollar signs instead of me. They wanted access to my family, my connections, my accounts. I've had girlfriends who pretended to love me, but really loved the idea of marrying into wealth. Friends who stuck around until they needed an investment or a favor or a way in." He sat down next to me, but didn't touch me, gave me space. "When I met you in that library, you didn't know who I was. You saw me reading Steinbeck, and you smiled, really smiled, and asked me what I thought of it. Not where I went to school, not what I did for work, not who my family was. Just what I thought about the book. And I fell in love with you right there." Tears were streaming down my face now. "I was going to tell you," he said. "I've been trying to tell you. But then I met your family, and I saw how they treated you, how they weaponized money, how they used wealth as a measure of worth. And I was terrified that if you knew, everything would change, that you'd see me differently, or worse, that you'd feel like I'd been lying to you all along." "You were lying to me all along," I said. He flinched. "Yes." We sat in silence, the kind that feels like a chasm opening up between two people. "I heard what they said to you today," Marcus continued. "How they asked you for $50,000 like it was nothing. how they held their love hostage for money. And I can't, his voice broke. I can't let them do that to you anymore. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to help you. I have the resources. No. The word came out sharp. No, I don't want your money either. It's not like that. Isn't it? I stood up, the blanket falling away. Everyone wants something from me. My family wants my savings. And now you're offering me yours. It's all just money, money, money. No one sees me. No one just wants me. I want you. Marcus stood too, his voice fierce. Just you. I don't care about your savings. I don't care if you have $50,000 or 50 cents. I care that the people who are supposed to love you are bleeding you dry, and I have the power to stop it, and you won't let me? Because it's not your battle. It is if I love you. The words hung in the air. First time he'd said them out loud. First time either of us had. I was crying again. Couldn't seem to stop. Your family is going to tear you apart to get what they want, Marcus said, softer now. And I know what that's like. I know what it feels like to be the pawn in someone else's game. But I got out. I drew boundaries. I built a life where they couldn't touch me. Let me help you do the same. How? He pulled out his phone, made a call. Jonathan, it's Marcus. I need you. Yes, I know what time it is. Family law, financial abuse, coercion, potential fraud. Tomorrow morning, first thing. He hung up and looked at me. We fight back. Not with money, with truth. Over the next 3 days, things moved fast. Marcus's lawyer, a sharp woman named Jonathan, short for Jonquil, she explained with a wry smile, tore through my family's finances like a shark through water. She brought in a forensic accountant, a private investigator, people who knew how to find the rot beneath the shine. What they found made my blood run cold. The summer house renovation, a cover. My parents had lost nearly $2 million in a bad investment scheme. My father's idea, my mother's money. They'd been bleeding accounts, selling off properties, taking out loans they couldn't pay back. The family wealth, largely smoke and mirrors at this point. But it was worse than that. The money I'd paid back to them for college, never recorded. As far as their books showed, I still owed them over $60,000. Money they'd claimed on their taxes as a family loan, getting deductions for years while holding it over my head. Victoria's engagement ring, bought on credit. Her fiancé, Trevor, from money, yes, but apparently his family had cut him off 6 months ago for gambling debts. He was marrying into what he thought was wealth. She was marrying into what she thought was security. They were both about to be disappointed. The family gathering I'd walked into, not an engagement party, an emergency meeting. They were selling the summer house, the penthouse apartment in Manhattan, most of my mother's jewelry, liquidating to cover debts. And they'd needed my $50,000 as a stopgap, a way to keep up appearances just a little longer. They were never going to pay you back, Jonathan said, sliding the documents across her desk. This shows a pattern of financial manipulation going back 15 years. Small amounts from you, larger amounts from other relatives. Always with promises of repayment. Never delivered. I stared at the papers. My whole life reduced to numbers and transactions and lies. What can we do? Legally? Plenty. We can file claims for the money you're owed. We can report the tax fraud. We can build a case for financial abuse and emotional manipulation that would hold up in court. She leaned back. But, Natalie, you need to decide what you want. Justice? Revenge? Or just to be free of them? I looked at Marcus, sitting quietly beside me. He'd been there for every meeting, every revelation, every moment when I wanted to scream or cry or both. Never pushing, just present. I want them to stop, I said. I want them to never be able to do this to anyone else, to me or Victoria or any other family member they can manipulate. Jonathan smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Then let's get to work. By Friday, we were ready. I called my mother and told her I'd be bringing the money in person. She sounded relieved, probably already planning how to spend it. We arrived at the estate at noon. The same dining room, the same chandelier. But this time, I wasn't alone. Marcus stood beside me, and behind us, Jonathan and two other lawyers. My father's face went white when he saw them. What is this? My mother stood up, her composure cracking. Natalie, what have you done? I brought the money you asked for, I said calmly. I practiced this, rehearsed every word until it felt like armor. But first, I think we should discuss the money you owe me. I nodded to Jonathan. She stepped forward, placing a folder on the table. $62,418, I said. That's what I paid back to you for college expenses, plus interest as we agreed, except you never recorded receiving it, never updated your ledgers. As far as your financial records show, I still owe you that money, which you've been claiming as a tax deduction for 6 years. My father's hand trembled as he reached for the folder. This is absurd. This is documented. Jonathan cut in. Bank transfers, canceled checks, email confirmations. All of it, including the IRS forms where you claimed this as an outstanding family loan. My mother looked at Victoria, then back at me. That's a misunderstanding, a bookkeeping error. Is it? I pulled out another folder. Because there are 12 other instances over the past 15 years where family members gave you money that was never repaid. Small amounts, $5,000 here, $10,000 there, all recorded as loans on your taxes, none recorded as repaid in your personal ledgers. The room was silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. You asked me for $50,000 for a summer house renovation. I continued, but the summer house is in foreclosure. You're selling it to cover $2 million in investment losses. This was never about a renovation. It was about keeping up appearances. And you were willing to take my entire savings to do it. Victoria finally found her voice. You ungrateful little, careful, Marcus said softly. Anything you say right now can and will be documented. She looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Really seeing him. The quiet confidence. The expensive watch that I'd never noticed before. The way the lawyers deferred to him, slightly, unconsciously. Who are you? She whispered. Someone who loves your sister enough to make sure she never gets hurt by this family again. My mother sat down heavily. What do you want? I want my $62,000 back, I said, plus the $50,000 you tried to take. I want a formal document stating that I owe you nothing, not money, not gratitude, not loyalty. I want you to stop contacting me, stop asking me for favors, stop treating me like an ATM with no withdrawal limit. And if we don't, my father's voice was cold. Then we file charges for tax fraud. Jonathan said crisply, we submit these documents to the IRS. We contact every family member you've borrowed from and make sure they know the truth. We ensure that every country club, every social circle, every business connection you have knows exactly what kind of people you are. You destroy us, my mother said. No, I replied. You destroyed yourselves. I'm just refusing to go down with the ship. The negotiations took 3 hours. In the end, they agreed to everything. Signed documents, transferred funds, watched as their carefully constructed world of privilege and pretense crumbled into something resembling honesty. Victoria didn't say a word, just sat there, white-faced, probably calculating how this affected her engagement, her image, her plans. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. As we left, my mother called out one last time. Natalie, you're making a mistake. Family is everything. I paused at the door, looked back at her. Really looked at her. This woman who'd given me life but never quite love. Who'd provided for me but never protected me. Who'd taught me that worth was measured in dollars and status and the opinions of people who didn't matter. No, I said gently. Family is supposed to be everything. But you taught me that some things matter more. Like dignity and truth and choosing the people who actually see you. I left with Marcus. And this time when I didn't look back, it felt like freedom. 3 months later, I'm sitting in our new apartment, ours, mine and Marcus's, a place we chose together that's neither too rich nor too humble, but just right. Just ours. The legal battles are over. My family paid back every cent, signed away any claim to my life, my choices, my future. Victoria's engagement ended. Trevor's family money never materialized, and apparently, he wasn't interested in marrying for love alone. Last I heard, she was dating someone age-appropriate and possibly genuine. I hope it works out for her. I really do. My parents sold the summer house, the penthouse, most of their assets. They're rebuilding, quietly, without the facade. I heard my father got a job, consulting. Real work for the first time in years. Maybe humility will teach them something wealth never could. Marcus is in the kitchen, making dinner. He's a terrible cook, which I love because it means he's not perfect, not some fairy tale prince, just a man who loves me and burns toast and thinks reading Steinbeck on a Sunday morning is a good use of time. I don't have $50,000 in savings anymore. I have more than that because I took the money back, invested it wisely, started building wealth on my own terms. But more importantly, I have something my family never gave me: peace. My phone buzzes. A text from a number I don't recognize. I'm proud of you, Mom. I stare at it for a long moment. 2 years ago, I would have cried, would have hoped, would have thought maybe, finally, things could change. Now, I just delete it and put the phone down. Because I learned the hardest lesson money can't buy. Some families are bonds we inherit, but the ones we build for ourselves are the only ones that matter. Marcus brings me a plate, pasta, slightly overcooked, sauce from a jar, absolutely perfect. You okay? He asks, sitting beside me. I lean into him, breathing in the scent of garlic and fabric softener, and home. Yeah, I say and mean it. I really, really am. Outside, the city lights flicker on one by one, and somewhere in the distance, a family I used to belong to continues without me. And for the first time in my life, I'm not sorry to be left behind.